If you're making a comic, manga, or webtoon and feel like you've hit a wall, you are definitely not alone. Hey guys, it's Sam, and today I'm going to break down what I think are the 6 levels of writing that every storyteller must master, especially if you're creating comics or visual storytelling projects. A lot of people struggle to make it past level 3, but I'll show you how I pushed through and how you could push through to get to the levels where the real magic happens. Let's kick it off with level 1, the complete novice. This is where every storyteller begins, myself included, and your favorite storyteller included too. Here you have passion, maybe you have a notebook full of ideas or a Notion full of ideas, but your writing is generally pretty clunky. You focus on simple cause and effect storytelling where the characters move from point A to point B without much nuance in between. You're driven by inspiration, but you lack direction, and many people at the level 1 stage mimic stories that they love, which is absolutely great for learning, and you should definitely start there. But often at the level 1 stage, you haven't developed your own voice yet. The main problem here is that stories tend to be predictable and lack depth. But if you are here at level 1, do not worry because you have to start here. It's natural, we all start here. The key to getting better is self-awareness and a bit of patience. Basically, you gotta do your reps at the level 1 stage. Level 2 is what I call the enthusiastic amateur. So if you're at level 2, you've probably started learning about basic storytelling structure. You've heard of the 3-act structure, you've heard of Kisho Tenketsu, you're well aware that a story needs a beginning, a middle, and an end, and you push it a little further. You might even start experimenting with character arcs and conflicts. But your story probably still relies on well-known tropes and cliches. And your characters are probably still a little bit two-dimensional because they act more like chess pieces than real people. You know that you have to get this character to a certain point in order to unlock a particular plot point. Because your focus is on making something readable, the originality aspect kind of falls by the wayside. That's why you might cling on to tropes and cliches a little bit. Most amateur writers get stuck here because they feel comfortable with what already works and they're a bit afraid to experiment. So if you find yourself at level 2, you say, this is me, how do I get to level 3? Well, this is the level where you start pushing your own boundaries and discovering your own style. The only way to get from level 2 to level 3 is to discover your own style, your own storytelling way. Okay, here we're at level 3, the emerging storyteller. So this is where things start to click. You're probably beginning to experiment with different storytelling techniques, things like flashbacks, unreliable narrators, non-linear plots. You've moved beyond the basics and you're starting to explore how to create characters with real depth. And suddenly you realize that your protagonists are not perfect, they shouldn't be, and that conflict is not always external. And sometimes the real battle for your characters is internal. But this level is exactly where many creators hit a plateau. Your skills are definitely improving and you can feel that in your ideation, but you lack consistency here. Some stories that you create work, some comics work, and some fall flat. And this can be a bit frustrating, and maybe you start second-guessing yourselves. And a lot of people who are trying to make webtoons, comics, or manga stop here because they don't see any way to improve. Maybe they make 1,000,000 one-shots and they really feel like they're, hitting a wall. But the real breakthrough ultimately for storytelling altogether is between level 3 and level 4. This is where you start thinking like a professional. So if you want to know what separates the pros from the hobbyists, it is this point here between level 3 and level 4. Now, let me just say, there's nothing wrong. I don't think there's anything wrong with being at level 3 forever, and you can create banger level 3 comics that everyone loves and enjoys. But there's a real difference in mindset and framework that happens between level 3 and level 4. You don't have to get to level 4 if you don't want to, but for those that do, stick with me here. Level 4 is the technical master, and here we're getting into the elite tiers of writing and storytelling. So this is the level where you learn to control every single aspect of your story. You understand pacing and tone and how to reveal information to the reader in just the right doses. So you've studied story structure, almost like it's a science. You've got the hero's journey beats down, you've got Dark Night of the Soul beats down, and you can plot your stories with a certain level of precision that, makes the reader feel, just flow with it. But I think the key issue for some at this level is perfectionism. So once you get to level 4, a lot of times you become obsessed with getting it right. You know what works and you know what doesn't. So you don't take as many risks because you want to get it right. At this level, it could really stifle your creativity. You may struggle a lot with writer's block here, or lose that raw energy that pushed you to start creating stories in the first place. So how exactly do you break through from level 4? Well, here is where I think all the writing technicalities become secondary to storytelling. Think less like a writer, think more like a storyteller. Level 5 is where you evolve into the storyteller with a vision. So at this stage, you're no longer just writing stories. You are crafting experiences for your readers. You're moved beyond structure and technique. You don't concern with that. You've internalized it to a point where you don't even, lead with those things. You know when to break the rules, and this is a key point. You know exactly when to break the rules to serve whatever the emotional core of your story is. The characters that you make feel alive, they feel like real people with complex motivations, and you're no longer just writing dialogue of them speaking, you actually hear them speak. The world that you built feels actually really lived in, and it doesn't just feel like a backdrop to your comic. But very, very few make it here. And why is that? I think it's because when you reach level 5, you have to let go of ego. You have to let go of this sense of being better than. You have to be willing to rewrite. You have to be willing to cut your favorite scenes if they don't serve the story. And most importantly, you have to be willing to trust the process. This area is where all of your favorite comic creators, independent comic creators live. This is the area where you really start to feel a life in the story that you're reading. But there's still one more level, and this is the level that turns good stories into masterpieces. So finally, we've reached level 6, which is the master storyteller. And I want to preface this by saying this is purely an opinion, okay? This is very flexible. Everybody interprets who they consider a master to be very, very, very different. And everyone has different considerations to what they consider masterful storytelling. So this is just my opinion. This is the level that who we consider the greats. This is their level. Think of people like Oda from One Piece or Hajime Isayama of Attack on Titan. At this stage, every story that you create feels absolutely inevitable. Like there's no way that this story could have happened any other way. The characters have layers upon layers, and the themes of the story resonate on a real deep and universal level. And you, as a creator, have complete command over your medium, and all of this can be felt through the audience that consumes your work. I think a reason why a lot of storytellers never make it to level 6 is because it requires an almost obsessive commitment to the craft. You basically need to live and breathe storytelling and constantly push yourself out of your comfort zone. This is not necessarily something that I think you should aspire to. I think there's definitely certain lifestyles that lend you to more easily reach level 6 and certain privileges that allow you to more easily reach this level. And this is not something that I think you should necessarily aspire to. You can craft amazing stories at every single level. This is just more of, my mind frame and my framework of to where I think various levels of storytelling kind of reside. So don't feel bad if you're like, oh, I'm never going to get to level 6. These are just arbitrary designations of where I feel like different types of stories may fit under. So just as you can create a masterwork at level 2 that people enjoy, you can create a masterwork at level 6. At the end of the day, it's how your readers and audience consume your story and what it means to them. So I hope you found this video interesting, and where do you think you lie on the scale? Personally, I think I'm somewhere between a level 4 and a 4.5, if that's even a level. I think I'm somewhere around there. I'm definitely working towards level 5, but I do feel like a lot of this you get as you go. So, there's no way to just like suddenly be good at it. If you're interested in my story, it's called Olde Treehouse, and I post it exclusively on Global Comics. Chapter 6 is going to be released very soon, but if you want to see chapters 1 through 5, you can go check it out, give it a read, follow me on Global if you're digging it. You could also subscribe to our Patreon if you want behind the scenes. It also helps support the channel here. Leave a comment down below and let me know what you think I got right, what I got wrong, where you think you are. And as usual, we are the channel that talks about writing and storytelling in comic making, which is a severely underserved niche. So if you like storytelling, stick with me. I'll be making more of these videos. And until next time, bye.